I covered my sister's college expenses while juggling 2 jobs, only for her to label me a failure during a family gathering. She was stunned when I stopped funding her apartment and explained to everyone why she could no longer sustain her lavish lifestyle. When my younger sister, Emily, got accepted into her top-choice university, the family treated it like a monumental achievement. My parents were overjoyed. Emily was already planning her future career, and I stood quietly in the background, mentally piecing together how it would all be financed. My parents made it clear they couldn't afford her tuition, dropping subtle hints during family discussions. "Emily's so bright, but college costs are astronomical," my mom would say, glancing at me like I was supposed to step in. I didn't have much myself. Working as a technician and saving for a home, I was stretched thin. But Emily was my sister, and I thought, why not lend a hand? So I started helping. At first, it was minor expenses, her books, some groceries, but it quickly escalated. Soon, I was covering her rent, utilities, and even her nights out when she claimed she needed to unwind. Every request came with a justification. "I'll repay you after I graduate," or "Mom and Dad can't pitch in right now." What stung more was my parents acting like it was my duty to support her. "Family looks out for family," they'd say, as if I wasn't already exhausting myself with 2 jobs to keep her afloat. Meanwhile, Emily behaved like the world owed her everything. She'd share photos of upscale dinners and weekend getaways, grinning as if my money wasn't funding it all. I told myself it was temporary. Once she graduated, it would pay off. But deep down, resentment was brewing. My life was on pause while hers charged forward, all on my dime. I hoped Emily would settle into college and appreciate my efforts, maybe show some gratitude. Instead, her sense of entitlement only grew. The first red flag was her spending. While I skipped meals and worked late to cover her rent, Emily flaunted new outfits online. Designer bags, stylish shoes, gourmet meals I could never afford. I tried to justify it. Maybe she'd gotten a job, or perhaps she was just keeping up appearances. When I asked, she brushed it off. "Everyone at school dresses like this," she said. "I don't want to stand out." It wasn't just her attitude toward money, it was her whole demeanor. She treated me like a cash machine, never checking on me or offering help. My parents were no better, guilt-tripping me into silence whenever I mentioned my struggles. "She's your sister building her future," my mom would say. "You should be proud to help." But it wasn't just helping, it was sacrificing. My weekends vanished, my savings disappeared, and my dream of owning a home? Gone. Meanwhile, Emily couldn't even muster a thank you. Instead, she'd call to gripe about her professors, workload, or roommates, never once asking how I managed 2 jobs to support her. The resentment I'd suppressed started to surface. I was tired of my life being sidelined while hers took priority. The breaking point came when Emily casually mentioned wanting to study abroad for a semester. She didn't ask if I could afford it, she assumed I'd handle it. "It'll be such an incredible experience," she said over the phone, her tone breezy. "It's a bit pricier, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right?" I gripped the phone, stunned. I was barely keeping up with her regular expenses, and now she expected me to fund a semester overseas. When I raised it with my parents, hoping they'd see reason, they doubled down. "This is a unique chance," my mom said. "You'll manage, you always do." I was floored. No recognition of my efforts, no concern for my well-being, just the assumption I'd keep sacrificing because that was my role. At the same time, Emily's behavior became unbearable. She'd complain about trivial issues, like her roommate borrowing her clothes or the campus coffee shop lacking proper espressos. She also started making snide remarks about me, joking about how I was always working and teasing that I was tied to my job. A coworker, hearing me vent one night, said, "She doesn't value you. You're killing yourself for her, and she acts like you owe her." For the first time, I wondered if they were right. A family dinner was meant to be a relaxed catch-up. My parents invited me over, and Emily was home from college for a break. I wasn't eager to go, but figured I could handle a few hours. The atmosphere was tense from the start. My parents fawned over Emily, asking about her classes, social life, and whether she needed anything for school. I sat quietly, waiting for someone to ask how I was doing. No one did. Halfway through the meal, Emily brought up the study abroad program again, raving about how amazing it would be and how everyone she knew was doing it. Looking at me, she said, "Hope you're ready to put in some extra hours, big brother. These programs aren't cheap." I froze. I couldn't believe her nerve saying that in front of everyone like it was a given. "Maybe you should get a part-time job," I said, keeping my tone even. Emily laughed. "Me, work part-time. That's hilarious. I'm swamped with school." That was it, the final straw. I set down my fork and stared at her. You're kidding, right? You think I'll just keep bankrolling your lifestyle while you do nothing? The room went silent. My parents looked at me like I'd curse it at the table. Emily's jaw dropped, but she quickly fired back. What's your deal? She snapped. You're always so resentful. Just because your life's stuck doesn't mean you have to take it out on me. Her words hit like a blow. After all I'd sacrificed, my time, my money, my dreams, this was how she saw me. A loser. I could feel my anger rising, but I wasn't letting her have the last word. Resentful, I said, leaning forward. You think I'm resentful because my life's stuck? Emily, my life's stuck because I've been funding yours. My parents jumped to her defense. That's out of line, my mom said sharply. You're her brother. It's your responsibility to support her. My responsibility, I repeated, letting out a bitter laugh. When did it become my responsibility to work 2 jobs so she can live like royalty? When did it become my job to give up my future so she can have hers served on a silver platter? Emily crossed her arms and rolled her eyes. Here comes the victim act, she muttered. That was it. I was done. You know what? I said, standing. Call me a failure, Emily, but at least I earned what I have. What have you done? Nothing. You spend my money while acting like you're above me. I turned to my parents. And you're just as bad, enabling her selfishness every step of the way. I'm done with it. I'm not paying for anything anymore, her rent, her tuition, nothing. The silence was heavy. Emily's face paled, and for the first time she looked genuinely shaken. You can't do this, she said, her voice trembling. How am I supposed to get by? Figure it out, I said, grabbing my coat. I've been doing it for years. Maybe it's your turn. I left the dinner feeling a mix of fury and relief. For the first time, I'd stood up for myself, but I knew the consequences were coming. The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages and calls. Emily started with passive-aggressive texts. Thanks for ruining dinner. Hope you're happy leaving your sister high and dry. When I didn't reply, the guilt trips escalated. You're really going to abandon me like this, after everything I've been through? I ignored every message. If she wanted to play the victim, she could do it without me. Then my parents got involved. My mom called, her voice heavy with disappointment. I don't know what's gotten into you, she said. Emily needs you. She's your sister. She's been my financial burden for years, I shot back. It's time she takes care of herself. My dad was no better, calling later to accuse me of being selfish and punishing Emily for no reason. What's she supposed to do now? He asked. Get a job, I said bluntly, like the rest of us. The real shock came when Emily's landlord called me. She told him I was paying her rent, and when the payment didn't clear, he contacted me directly. She's not my responsibility anymore, I told him. Talk to her. That must have been a wake-up call for Emily, because days later she showed up at my apartment, looking frantic and disheveled, a stark contrast to her usual polished self. You can't just cut me off, she said the moment I opened the door. Yes, I can, I replied, leaning against the doorframe. Emily shifted nervously, unused to hearing no from me or anyone. You don't get it, she said, her voice rising with panic. If you don't help, I'll lose my place. I can't just move back home. Mom and Dad don't have space. Not my problem, I said coldly. Her jaw dropped. Not your problem, she repeated. You're my brother. For years, I've been more than that, I said, stepping forward. I've been your bank, your safety net, your excuse to avoid responsibility. I worked 2 jobs so you could chase your dreams, and when I asked for respect, you called me a failure. So no, Emily, it's not my problem anymore. She blinked, stunned. I didn't mean it like that, she stammered. I was upset, I wasn't thinking. You never think, I shot back. You never think about anyone but yourself. You use me, you use Mom and Dad, and now you're panicking because you have to face the consequences. She started crying, dramatic sobs that might have swayed someone else, but I was done. You're not guilting me into changing my mind, I said. Figure it out, get a job, manage your money, do what you need to, but leave me out of it. She didn't like that. You're heartless, she snapped, wiping her tears. Family helps family. No, I said firmly. Family supports each other, not takes advantage and calls it love. Until you learn that, don't come back. I shut the door, cutting off her next excuse. For the first time, I felt in control of my life again. After shutting Emily out, I prepared for the backlash. She wasn't one to stay quiet, and I knew she'd spin a sob story for our parents. Sure enough, they called the next day, furious. How could you do this to your sister? My mom demanded. She's struggling and you abandoned her when she needed you most. I didn't hold back. Struggling? She's been living off my paycheck for years, acting like she's entitled to it. Maybe it's time she learns what struggle really means. My dad accused me of being cold and ungrateful for all they'd done for me. I laughed. Ungrateful? I've been funding Emily's lifestyle while you cheered her on like she's a superstar. Meanwhile, I've been killing myself to keep her comfortable. The more I explained, the quieter they got. By the end, they could only mutter that I was tearing the family apart. Emily's meltdown was dramatic. She posted cryptic messages online about selfish people and being betrayed by those closest to you. She even started a crowdfunding page for her rent, claiming an unexpected hardship. Her friends left sympathetic comments, but donations barely came in. People weren't as eager to fund her lifestyle as she'd hoped. The drama spread through the family. My aunt called saying I was being harsh, but after I explained, she was shocked. "She expected you to keep paying her rent?" she asked. "Welcome to my reality," I replied. When my parents showed up at my door, I realized how deep this had gone. It wasn't just Emily's entitlement. It was the whole family enabling her, treating her problems as mine to fix. My mom spread a narrative that I'd failed Emily and the family. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me, saying things like, "It's not right to let her struggle," or "Family comes first." But as time passed, Emily's facade began to crumble. Friends told me she'd been evicted and moved back with my parents, still expecting to be pampered. One friend laughed, saying Emily complained about their cooking and even suggested they hire help since I wasn't around. That solidified my decision to cut ties. If my family wanted to enable her, that was their choice, but I was done burning myself out for someone who couldn't show basic appreciation. Emily's downward spiral continued. She stayed with my parents, who spoiled her like a child, dipping into their meager savings to support her. They kept blaming me, acting like I'd committed a crime by stopping the payments. Relatives told me Emily was spreading lies, claiming I'd abandoned her in a crisis, conveniently omitting how she'd lived off me for years while flaunting her privilege. Her downfall wasn't just financial, it was social. Her crowdfunding scam spread, and the friends who once joined her for fancy dinners stopped answering her calls. Without me footing the bill, she had little to offer. The final straw came when my parents called in a panic. Emily had racked up credit card debt in their names, splurging on a shopping spree. They begged me to help, saying they couldn't cover the payments. I couldn't help but laugh. After defending her, enabling her, and vilifying me, they expected me to bail them out. "This is your mess," I said firmly. "You enabled her behavior and now you're facing the consequences." For once, they didn't argue. Maybe they finally saw I wasn't coming to the rescue. That was the last I heard from them. I moved forward, focusing on my own future without their drama dragging me down. It took years to recover from the toll they'd taken, but I emerged stronger. As for Emily, I heard she's still with my parents, trapped in her cycle of entitlement and excuses. Part of me pities them, stuck with her selfishness, but mostly I feel free. They made their choices, and now they can live with them.